First of all, please apologize. My voice isn't how it should be. And unfortunately, it's not because I had too many drinks yesterday. It's because I caught a cold 2 days ago, for whatever reason, because it's not quite the weather to get a cold. But anyway, I would have never missed this event today. Is Sebastian here somewhere? Sebastian, congratulations to you guys, what you put together here. It's extremely amazing. I have to say, probably most of you don't know, Sebastian and me, we studied at the same university, WHU, it's a small business school in Germany. He did his master there, I went for the PhD. And at that time, he already was one of the cool guys going in the startup area. I was more traditional, going in the industry. And it's quite nice to meet again after so many years and really see what you have achieved, Sebastian. It's really great to bring so many young people also together and also females. Most of the steel events where I'm invited to, it's extremely more boring. Very old people, only male, only German. So only to be able to speak English today is already a big pleasure for me. Thank you, Sebastian, for bringing such a cool crowd together. That's what I can say already after just being here for like 45 minutes. I also heard I have a hard stop at 4, so I will directly jump into the presentation. Climate-friendly steel, the time to act is now. I want to present to you the topic green steel and showing you that it's possible to produce green steel and that it's also possible to do something good for this planet by producing steel. A modern life without steel, is it possible? We say no. Unfortunately, many of you probably know how the situation in Germany is nowadays. Very often I'm in Berlin and I see many politicians that believe that the heavy industry in Germany, like the chemical industry, pharmaceutical industry, aluminium or steel industry, is not needed anymore because it's dirty, it's heavy, so why should we still produce steel in Germany? And what these people don't know is that in Germany, every year, every German, and we are 85 million, consumes 400 kilograms of steel. Every single person. Why this? Because we are quite an industrialized country. To give you a comparison, in Brazil, we have more or less 100 kilo per head count, but still 100. Here we have 400. Why is it 400 kilos in Germany? Because we ride trains, although they are not anymore arriving on time, but we still ride trains. Also, we go to the doctor, so we need injections. Vaccines. We still need towers for energy. After Corona, we are again allowed to cut our hair, so we need scissors. We also like cooking. We wash. We still have a big agricultural sector. And we also need cars, be it an ambulance, be it police cars, be it personal cars. So summing all this up, it's 400 kilo steel per year. And of course, now you can say, let's import all this from China or from India. Or you can be smart and decide to do it by ourselves, but in a green and sustainable way, which I believe is the smarter solution. What is happening in the world? Most of you also know, since 1961, the CO2 emissions have exploded. India has grown, China has grown, also Europe has grown, the US has grown, the economies have grown, the GDPs have risen. But the global CO2 emissions has arrived at 37 billion tons in 2021. The global average temperature in parallel has increased to 1.3 degrees. Of course, now you can say, there's no direct connection, there's no real proof about this, nobody ever can prove, maybe only God. Okay, there is no real proof, but the fact is the CO2 emissions are there. And the fact is that the world is definitely not in a good condition. And most of you are quite young. I look quite old, but I'm not that old, 45. If I go 20 years back, I can already feel the difference. Only 20 or 30 years thinking back, how has it been 20, 30 years ago? I lived almost 20 years in Brazil. In Brazil, 20 years ago, we did not have so many rainfalls. Now we have heavy rainfalls every month. And this happens all over South America. Every month, 200-300 people die out of nothing. In Germany, we had a very huge disaster 2.5 years ago. In the Ahrtal, 200 people died. So the thing is arriving even in the northern countries of the world. You see, these are the droughts. It's getting very dry, especially in the south of Europe. Whoever tried to be there during the last 2 months, it was extremely hot, and it's not the first year that it's that hot in Italy, Greece, or Spain. And you also see a lot of floods, that what I mentioned, and wildfires. Unfortunately, in Australia and California, we're already used to it, but it's getting closer. Greece, Italy, and in many other countries, there are more and more fires because it's getting drier and drier, and it's getting hotter and hotter, and very soon we are 8 billion people. So, of course, we can continue to live like this. If you listen to Donald Trump, we just continue as nothing would have happened. But I don't believe that's the smart thing, because very soon, that was also shocking news for me, still end of this century, we might be 16 billion people on this planet. So this would be twice as much as we are today. I don't know if it's true, I just read it. But definitely, we are today already 8 billion people, and we need to change our behavior. We need to preserve this planet in a much better way. Therefore, I'm extremely proud now to work at GMH. It's a family-owned company. I will come to this. And it's the first steel producer in Germany who was nominated a climate-friendly company. Today, there are only 2 steel companies in Germany that achieved this award. It's GMH Gruppe and Feralpi Steel. These are the only 2 companies. You don't have a chance to go for the certification. You get it or you don't get it. And we're extremely proud that we received this award. Why did we receive this award? Because our company is only 25 years old. And the owner of our company, the first thing he did, he exploded the blast furnace. He only built electric furnaces. He started 20 years ago. So today we only produce our steel in electric arc furnaces. What now everybody's trying to do. GMH is doing this since more than 20 years. We use 100% scrap for the steel production. So we only use scrap, steel scrap that the planet doesn't need anymore. We collect it, we have our own steel yards, and then we melt it down. And out of the scrap, we produce steel again. Plus, we also try to manage the complete supply chain. We try to collect the scrap. We have a market share of 12% in Germany, almost 2 million tons of scrap we collect by ourselves per year. Then we produce steel, SBQ steel. That's our main product. We also produce special profiles, and we are also the 3rd biggest forging company in Europe. More or less 500 million euro sales we generate with forging products. We have 6,000 employees, 2.3 billion sales, and extremely important, I mentioned it before, we are privately owned. For me, it's the first time in my life I'm working in a privately owned company, and I have to say I enjoy it a lot, because for the first time in my life I have the chance to do things long term, or at least longer term, and I don't need to tell a story to the capital market every 3 months. It's really quite nice. Plus, the family who's owning the company has a huge personal interest and focus on sustainability. Because very often in the past I also heard the sentence, oh, you want to do something for CO2 neutrality? Okay, how much does it cost? Oh, so much. What's the payback? Longer? Okay, sorry, we can't do it. But here in GMH, it's really difficult. It's really different, because the family wants to have a sustainable company. Talking about figures, we had in 2019, we were responsible for 800,000 tons of CO2, which is quite a lot. You all know it. The steel industry overall is responsible for almost 10% of the global CO2 emissions. But if we still had the blast furnaces, our CO2 output would have been 4 million. So comparing to the 4 million, we already did quite a step ahead, but still, it's 800,000 and it's still not enough. As a management team, 2.5 years ago, we decided we need to go for 0 in 2039. Why 2039? Because one of our biggest customers, Daimler, he also went for 2039. After 6 months, we all had the same feeling in the management team. 2039, come on, where's the motivation? Too long away, 15 years, it's not real motivating. It's easy because, to be honest, if you give yourself a target for 2039, you don't need to work so hard on it right away because it's still very far away. Therefore, we said we have to do it different. We gave ourselves the target to reduce our CO2 emissions by 50% already by 2030. And all of you know the steel industry. Now we are at the end of 2023. 2030 feels like being tomorrow. So we don't have so much time, but this puts quite a nice positive pressure on our shoulders because all of us, every plant manager, now needs to define actions, how he comes down to 400,000. What are we doing to get there? Because just talking about it, it's quite easy. But the question is, what are the real actions we are taking? Of course, solar energy. Wherever possible, we put solar panels on our roofs. That's what almost everybody is doing. But now we also start serious discussions with outside solar fields. So we have 3 projects now under discussions where we will build complete solar fields close to our plants. We are also going for wind energy. We are trying to build wind energy by ourselves, and we also bought 30% of our electricity out of German wind parks. And that's quite a sexy project, biocarbon. We are replacing, and this took us more than 3 years to get there. We are substituting fossil coal by biocarbon. So we don't spend CO2 anymore coming out of the coal when we produce steel. Plus, we are also now getting connection to the hydrogen network in Germany. Plus, we are considering to produce H2 by ourselves. We are already investing in new furnaces, electric furnaces. This is a new furnace we just inaugurated last week in our major plant. Both furnaces together is a 25 million euro invest, but this brings us away from natural gas to electricity. And we also work with waste heat. Wherever we produce steel, we generate a lot of heat. This heat we are now sending to the city where we produce steel, and we are already able to heat 400 families, 400 houses, plus the public swimming pool. So there's a lot we can do, and we have already this year, we will be able to reduce our CO2 emissions by 18%, coming down to 656,000. And that's the motivation we are having as a management team to be able to, as fast as possible, to come down to the 400,000. This is a comparison of the CO2 footprint. Blast furnace, I just mentioned. That's the electric furnace route. This is our traditional route. This is the steel we are since this year offering to the market with 100% green energy. And these are the PPAs we are having with the electricity suppliers that we get green steel out of the windmills, plus 100% biocarbon. In this case, we are able to go to 0.05 already, which is almost climate neutral. We still need to use natural gas to heat up our steel. That's the only missing part in our equation. Otherwise, we are almost there. And you can imagine we have customers who are interested in this steel. But I also have to be very frank, it's still not so many. On the one side, every CEO of a big company standing in front of the shareholders saying, I want to produce sustainable or in a very sustainable way. For us, sustainability is very important, and so on and so on. And once you arrive at the purchasing department, they tell you, we also want CO2 neutral products, but we don't want to pay any cent. We don't want to pay any penny more than as if it were normal steel in our case. which we hope it will change soon because we have very good examples of other industries where it's happening already. If you take a look, and this study is coming from BCG, I saw Nicole Vogt here earlier today. You are still there, so we are, I don't want to say copying, we are using your nice study, and it's extremely right and extremely interesting to see that, for example, SC Johnson, they already sell detergents for 67% higher than the low-cost ones you can buy. H&M, you all know H&M, that's a brand where many people like to buy clothes, also people who are not having that huge income, but even H&M decided to go for, they call it HMN conscious, for sustainable brand, 39% higher, and people buy these kind of jeans. Same for the aluminum sector. What we are asking ourselves, why are the steel customers, be it the railway industry or the automotive industry, why are they still so reluctant in willing to pay a little bit more to get CO2 neutral steel? That's the big question we're asking ourselves, because if we take whatever car, you can get the green steel I just showed you. It's around 50 to 80 euro per ton more expensive, which is 5 to 8% of the steel price. The passenger car cost increase would be less than 1% because there's not, I mean, this car has a weight of 1.5 tons altogether, so there's not so much steel in there. What we ask ourselves, and what I'm personally also trying to push when I talk to the CEOs of the OEMs, when do the OEMs start to offer the option green line to their customers? And nowadays you can buy a Porsche, you can buy an Audi, you can spend 150,000 euro, and you have such a long list of options, be it the sound system, be it the color of your seats, whatever, you can decide everything, but you don't have this option. I want to have a green line, I want to go for the sustainable products, I want to have nice leather, I want to have aluminum and steel which was produced in a sustainable way. We really hope that this will come soon, because this would bring some money into the supply chain, money that sustainable suppliers need. Second question, when will the governments start to purchase greener products? Also the governments, they talk a lot, they want to become CO2 neutral by 2045, but still, whenever they have to decide and take a decision in purchasing, they still go for the price only. And this is the second discussion we're having with all the politicians we meet, because they need to give a good example to the public. And they have quite a big influence. You saw the ambulance, the police cars, and so on. The states, the governments, they could be, or they have to be, the driver in all these activities. Last slide, it was already mentioned in the beginning, because very often we are also asking ourselves, is it really worth to put so much efforts in sustainability? Because it costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of time, but for us it's also a purpose. We don't only work to earn EBIT and cash flow. Of course, this is also important, but it's not our only motivation anymore. Our motivation also is to reduce the CO2 footprint. We all have children, and to help the world to be better. And here you can see an award we received 6 weeks ago from Volkswagen. I was invited to Berlin when Volkswagen invited the 100 top suppliers. Also my former colleague Nikolai Setzer, the CEO of Continental, was there. Stefan Hartung, a friend of mine, the CEO of Bosch. And they saw me and they said, "Oh, Alexander, what are you doing here? I mean, that's a big automotive panel." I said, "Yeah, I was invited. I'm very happy to be here." And suddenly, we as GMH, we received this award from the CEO of Volkswagen, of Dr. Blume. He said, "We want to give you this award." Why? Because you guys, you take the steel or our scrap, steel scrap from our plants in Osnabrück, Hanover, Wolfsburg. You drive it back in your furnace and you make steel out of it. And we are so extremely proud to have this circular concept in place with you. And you guys put so much passion into this that we want to give you this award for being the supplier of the world for Volkswagen for 22, which I'm still very emotionally touched because it was really a big moment for us, and I wanted to share this with you. And this is already the last slide. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope I'm still on time. And if we take it serious, we will make it happen. And we should not ignore that the world is not in a good condition. We all should fight to make it better, because it's really nice living on this planet, and our children and their children should have the same luck as we are having. Thank you very much for your attention. Haben wir noch 5 Minuten?
It's perfect. Thank you very much. I think we still have some time for questions. And look, I'm always glad to hear that there are companies out there that take actually action into their hands and actually do something about it, rather than waiting for subsidies. I think this is actually what we need, going ahead rather than waiting for change to happen. Now, there's one thing that I would like to ask you. Of course, you're acting as a supplier to companies like Volkswagen, BMW, but you also have suppliers, of course, in your raw materials supply chain. And they will become also a crucial part of lowering CO2 emissions and on your journey towards zero emissions. So what are you doing to actually also push your suppliers to become not carbon neutral? Because that will ultimately end up, including the scope 3 emissions, to be a real green product then.
You are extremely right. What we are doing, we also buy a lot of steel by ourselves. And we produce steel, but we also buy steel by ourselves for our forging shops. And we now, since 2 to 3 years, we try to buy from the electric arc furnace route. We actively try to substitute blast furnace suppliers by electric arc furnace suppliers. And nowadays we went down to, if I help me, 20-25% of blast furnace suppliers, and we are continuing to reduce this. We also buy a lot of alloys here. For us, it's still very important to get a feeling of what is really the PCF of these products. First, to get transparency, and then step by step reduce. We also take a big focus on transport costs. We try to bring all the material via trains, wagons into our plant, not to use, of course, trucks. This is also very important for us, and we go step by step down the
You need to
chain.
start somewhere, right?
Alloys will be quite a big challenge, to be very frank.
I think that's probably also a task for everyone here in this audience to support GMH on the route to zero emissions, all the suppliers also providing actually PCFs. But look, I'd like to open this for questions. I'm sure there must be some. You must have stunned everyone.
I'm so happy that I was able to answer all your questions
No,
in
there's
20
one question.
minutes.
2 questions, very good.
Was a long day, huh? It's not easy to be the last one. But the air conditioner is running, right?
Somewhat.
So quick question from my side. How do you see scrap availability in mid and long term in terms of changes of markets? Of course, we see also the integrated mills, the primary producers are getting more interesting into this and including into their strategy.
Yeah. It's a very good question. Definitely there will not be enough steel scrap for everybody. So if all the blast furnaces would immediately go to the electric arc furnace route, there would not be enough available. Excuse me. There's still enough for the moment, also for the next 10 years, I believe, because a lot is still being exported to Turkey. So there's still a lot that can stay inside Europe. In China, a lot of scrap will show up. because the Chinese customers, they buy per year 25 million passenger cars, and most of them are starting to be scrapped now only. So the first generation of cars that are getting scrapped in China, so also a huge amount of scrap will come out of China and will most likely be exported to the world, because in China there are still not so many electric arc furnace suppliers. And the US, they are more or less fine. They have 70% electric arc furnace, 30% blast furnace. So I believe it might get a little bit more expensive maybe, but I'm still not so concerned for the next 10 years.
Excellent. 2 more questions.
Yeah, thanks for the great presentation. It's always good to see someone very committed on the decarbonization. I have one question. When you are now allocating some of your product towards very green, using raw materials with a low carbon footprint and energy, are you not opening the door for importers for a CBAM circumvention in future to do the same?
Can you explain again? I did not fully get it.
When you have this carbon border adjustment mechanism starting in 2026, so importers from Far East, from wherever, can exactly do the same, allocate some of their products to be very green, using that's part of energy, and then come into Europe.
Yeah. If you ask me, I would not go for CBAM, because the most critical thing about CBAM is that, at least so far, the European Commission, although they are 50,000 over there already, they forgot to consider the upstream value chain. Similar mistake the US did with Trump when they put 25% import tax on the steel from China. But they forgot the additional steps like forging shops, machining shops, or whatever. So what will happen in the future if the CBAM will be only valid for steel? This means that the steel in Europe will most likely become most expensive, but the automotive customers, they can import already the finished product, be it forged, be it machined, directly into Europe, out of India, out of China, which at the end will also lead to a big problem for us as the steel mills, because there will not be so much steel left. This is something we are pushing a lot in Europe, in Brussels, and hopefully they will wake up and understand that if you really want a CBAM, if you want to implement it, you cannot implement it only for steel. You need to go up the complete value chain. Otherwise, you will destroy or hardly hurt the steel industry.
I think we've got time for
and additionally, they will do it. As you said, of course, they have 20% green products and they sell it, 80% they sell in India. I would do the same, clearly. Why should they do it the other way around? Clear.
I think we've got time for one more question, and then I need to be quick with my summary, ultimately.
Yeah, one more question. Thank you, Alexander. Very impressive presentation. You highlighted how difficult it is still to, get a markup for green steel. I could assume that the first step is from the buyer side, that they have transparency. And now I'm asking my question to you as somebody with many years of automotive experience. When is the moment that we will see that automotive suppliers put carbon footprint in each specification?
Actually, they have started already. Bosch, they put in their specification already that starting by 2025, it needs to be there. So it's coming. It's coming. Schaeffler is going in the same direction. I believe it will come around 25, 26. Why only 25, 26? Or why are the OEMs still reluctant? Because for steel planks, they still don't have a green option. H2 Green Steel, the company in Sweden, they will most likely be the first in the market, then probably Salzgitter, and then they have a real green option. At the moment, they still don't have it. For our steel grades, they have it for SPQ, but for the planks, they still don't. That's my feeling. They are trying to postpone for another 2 to 3 years. But I hope and I believe that the pressure from the shareholders will get bigger. because it cannot be enough just to tell stories. You also need to improve your product carbon footprint for real, even as a Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes. But I just had a very good meeting with BMW before I came here today, and you feel it. It's happening. It's still slow, but it's happening. So I believe we just need to continue to push, because doing something like this, of course, it's very nice if it will pay off, and we believe it will pay off, but we don't exactly know. If we really get these 40 or 60 euro on top, we don't know. But at least we know that we do something good. It's a good feeling. And let's see, hopefully it will get a payback also, but I don't know. We will see.
Yeah. Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We've got a book for you, The World for Sale. It's about resource trading. Thank you once again for making it here,
kind. No, thanks
despite
for the
your cold.
Thank you.